Welcome to this video lecture. I am Syed Junaid Nawaz. In this video lecture, we will conduct frequency domain analysis of angle modulation schemes and analyze the bandwidth consumption by both frequency and phase modulation schemes. In terms of bandwidth consumption, these modulation schemes are usually categorized into narrow band and wide band modulation schemes. So let's start with the analysis. We define the exponential modulated signals as where psi of t is some kind of representation of information signal. For example, for the case of phase modulation, psi of t represents the information signal itself in its original form, while for the case of frequency modulation, psi of t represents the integral of information signal. Can be some other kind of representation of information signal to represent some other kind of exponential modulation schemes. Such exponential modulation schemes are nonlinear modulation schemes. Therefore, no properties of Fourier transform can be directly applied for bandwidth analysis. In this regard, to conduct the analysis for bandwidth, if we approach through expanding the expression of exponential modulation schemes in time domain, for example, if we consider a complex exponential modulated in terms of phases and frequencies, we can write its expression as, so instead of a real signal, we have considered a complex signal here, and the same information signal's representation is being added with the running phase. However, the sinusoid is now a complex sinusoid. It is the same expression, while in equation number 1, the sinusoid is real and we have extended it to a complex sinusoid in equation number 2. The exponent in equation number 2 can be expanded as, since two parts in the exponents are being added, we can represent them as a product of two different exponents. Here in equation number 3, we can extend the second exponent by using power series. An exponent function can be represented with infinite polynomial, that is power series expansion. For example, if we have in generalized form a function f of x, that is exponent of x, the exponential function is the infinitely differentiable function defined for all real numbers whose derivative of all orders are equal. Therefore, the function can be represented as a power series by using the Maclaurin's formula, which is, if we expand it, we get, and so on. By applying this power series expansion to the second exponent in equation number 3, we can get, and so on. For example, for the nth term, we can write it as, and it goes up to infinite number of components. For instance, if we consider the case of frequency modulation, then the same analysis can be applied for the case of phase modulation. For the case of frequency modulation, as discussed, the psi of t can be represented as kf into the integrated variant of information signal, that is integral from -infinity to current time instant. If we consider a simplified form of the frequency modulated case and define this integral as a of t, then we can write this psi of t as some constant into the integrated variant of information signal. By substituting equation number 5 into equation number 4, we can expand the exponential modulated signals equation to the frequency modulated signals expression, that is, and if we expand this first exponent with Euler's formula, that was in generalized form, then after multiplying these two terms and applying some mathematical simplification operations, we get this as j being multiplied with j, we get j square, that is equal to -1. So we get a minus sign here. Further multiplying it with the third part, we get these two terms as, if we also express the nth term, then for the nth term, after we multiply it with the second exponent's expanded representation, we get it as, initially, we considered this as a complex sinusoid to initiate the analysis. Now, if we only consider the real part of the frequency modulated signal, we can select only the terms which are real terms here. For example, the first term is a real part. The third term also contributes into the real part of the signal. Fourth term also contributes to the real part of the signal. And fifth term, being a second order term, also contributes contributes to the real part. If we only consider the real terms, we can write it in simplified form as: by carefully analyzing this expression, we can conduct analysis for the bandwidth of frequency modulated signals, as for the first part of this equation is a pure sinusoid wave which has no representation of information signal. Therefore, if we plot the frequency domain plot, the first part represents an impulse on the frequency omega c, as the first part being a sinusoid wave. Now if we carefully analyze the second part of this expression, that is some representation of information signal being multiplied by a sinusoid. Multiplication with a sinusoid represents frequency shifting in the frequency domain. For example, A of t is some representation of information signal. If we multiply it with a sinusoid of frequency omega c, its band will shift from the baseband to omega c frequency. We have some representation here of information signal that is shifted across omega c, and it will occupy the band from omega c to omega c plus 2 pi b, and lower sideband of this signal will occupy the band from omega c minus 2 pi b to the band omega c. For the case of frequency modulated signal, information signal is being passed through an integrator, and we are obtaining this A of t signal, that is integrated variant of the information signal. As we know, if m of t is a baseband signal and limited to b hertz bandwidth, then the integrated variant of this information signal may have different concentration of power, but it will also be limited to b hertz bandwidth. Therefore, this second part is a double sideband amplitude modulated signal, but instead of information signal itself being modulated, the integrated variant of the information signal is being represented with A of t, and integrated variant of a certain signal has same bandwidth as the original signal has the bandwidth composition. Similarly, if we analyze the third part here, it has a constant scaling factor of kf square. If you recall, the constant factor kf was introduced to restrict or to limit the shifts caused by the amplitude of information signal in the instantaneous phase or instantaneous frequency of the carrier signal, for the case of phase modulation and frequency modulation respectively. So the value of this limiting constant being a small value, for example kf equals to a very small number, that is less than 1, this limiting constant is being squared, and square being a non-linear operator discriminates between different values. For the square of 1, we get the same number as 1. For the numbers greater than 1, if we take square of those numbers, we end up getting larger numbers than the numbers being squared. However, for the case of numbers less than 1, if we take square of such numbers, we get further smaller number as result. So we have a very small number that is a scaling factor in this third term of the expression. Further, it is being divided with 2 factorial, which further makes it a smaller number. Overall, this third term has a very limited power, where its bandwidth composition can be observed from this second part of the expression, where a square of t is being multiplied with a sinusoid. A square of t is the square of information signals representation, and if it is being multiplied with a sinusoid of frequency omega c, we have it shifted across omega ct. Instead of A of t, we have A square of t. If we take square of a certain signal, for example, if A of t is passed through an operator which takes square of the input signal, and we get A square of t as output of this system. If A was originally some signal which was b hertz band limited, then A square of t will be 2b hertz band limited signal. If we pass this signal from certain system which takes its power as n, for example, then we get A of t raised to the power n. If A of t was band limited and its bandwidth was b hertz, then A raised to the power n of t will be of bandwidth nb. So by considering this, A square of t has double the bandwidth compared to A of t, and it is being scaled with a very small number. So this third term has very small power, and it is of the double bandwidth compared to the second term. If we express it in the plot, we have a double bandwidth signal centered at omega c, and its power is very low compared to the second term of the expression. So its higher frequencies band is limited from omega c to omega c plus 4 pi b, and its lower frequencies term is limited from omega c minus 4 pi b to omega c. Similarly, if we look at the fourth part of this equation, that is a cube of t, which will have 3 times the bandwidth as compared to the signal a of t, and it is shifted across omega c, and it is scaled with a constant number which is a further smaller number, kf being a number smaller than 1. Its cube will be a further smaller number, and it is being divided by 3 factorial. So we have a representation that is centered at omega c, and its bandwidth is 3 times the bandwidth of information signal a of t, and so on. We will have more terms. For example, another term with a of t raised to the power 4 that will have 4 times bandwidth compared to a of t, and multiplied with, for example, sine or cos of omega ct, that represents frequency shifting. So a signal of bandwidth 4 times higher compared to the bandwidth of information signal is shifted across omega ct, and it will be scaled by a very small number. So we will have more side bands here which are centered at omega c, and we will have infinite number of such side bands centered at omega c. So theoretically, from this expression and from this plot, we can see that the bandwidth of frequency modulated signals is infinitely large. However, we can also observe that most of the energy is concentrated in a limited band, in the band beside the carrier frequency, and same is the case for phase modulated signals. For the case of phase modulated signals, this a of t will represent the information signal itself, and precisely the bandwidth of such angle modulated signals is infinitely large, while most of the energy is concentrated in the bands near the central frequency of carrier signal, that is omega c. So from this definition of exponential modulated signals, we can have two distinct possibilities in terms of the bandwidth of such signals, and we can categorize the angle modulated signals into narrow band exponential modulated signals and wide band exponential modulated signals. So if we generate an exponential modulated signal by only using some selective terms of this expression, then we can obtain a band limited frequency or phase modulated signals. So for the case of frequency modulated signals, as the higher order terms have very limited contribution of the power of the signal, so if we ignore the higher order terms and generate the frequency modulated signal by using only the first two terms which have most of the portion of the signal's energy, we can define a narrow band angle modulated signal as, for example, the time domain expression of a narrow band frequency modulated signal as only the first two terms of the power series expanded variant of the wide band frequency modulated signal, that is AC cos of omega ct minus kf a of t sine of omega ct. If we substitute the value of a of t, then the final expression for narrowband frequency modulated signal can be written as a pure sinusoid AC cos of omega ct minus a scaled variant of the integrated variant of information signal, that is m of alpha being integrated from minus infinity to current time instant and shifted across omega ct. This holds when kf is a very small number. Then we can ignore the terms of higher order from this expression, and we can only consider the first two terms in this expression. Similarly, we can write a narrow band phase modulated signals expression as the carrier sinusoid in its original form minus kp multiplied by the information signal shifted across omega c, that is carrier frequency. So as we have considered only the first two terms of the angle modulated signals after expanding it over power series, we have a limited bandwidth angle modulated signal that has precisely be 2 times the bandwidth of information signal. That is, we have only considered the carrier signal, which represents this impulse in frequency domain, and the term which is generating only the first sidebands, and the bandwidth which will be generated will be limited from omega c minus 2 pi b up to omega c plus 2 pi b. Therefore, in terms of radians per second, we have a total bandwidth of 4 pi b. If we convert it into hertz, then the bandwidth is 2b, which is twice the bandwidth of information signal, where b represents the bandwidth of information signal. However, for wideband signals, we have infinite number of sidebands, which are, this band is referred as the first sideband, while this band, which is generated from the squared variant of the information signal, is usually represented as the second sideband of exponential modulated signals. The band generated from the third order variant of the information signal is referred as third sideband of the signal. So we have such infinite bands, while most of the energy is concentrated in the bands adjacent to the carrier signal frequency. First sideband, second sideband, and so on. We have such infinite sidebands. In terms of f, these bands can be defined as occupying the frequency from the range starting from omega c to omega c plus 2 pi b. Second band starts from fc plus b up to fc plus 2b. Third band refers to the band which is from fc 2b up to fc plus 3b, and so on. We have such infinite number of bands being represented in wideband signal, where we can say that the frequency of nth sideband is fc plus nb, where fc represents the frequency of carrier signal and b represents the bandwidth of information signal, and n refers to the index of sideband being referred. So from these infinite number of sidebands, we have only considered the first sideband, and we have defined it as narrow band exponential modulated scheme. This holds as true for the scenarios when the constant scaling parameters are set as a small value. Then the higher order sidebands can be ignored, for them being occupying only a fraction of the total energy of the modulated signal. So if we draw block diagram to generate such narrow band phase modulated and frequency modulated signals, it is, we have information signal being fed as input to the system, and we are generating a carrier signal from an oscillator, for example minus a sine of omega ct. We have a double sideband suppressed carrier amplitude modulator here, which is actually a frequency mixer. And after this double sideband amplitude modulation, we obtain a c into kp if we are discussing phase modulated signals, into m of t into sine of omega ct. After obtaining this part of the equation, we add pure sinusoid signal in this variant, that is phase shifted variant of the carrier signal. After adding these two parts, we obtain a narrow band phase modulated signal in time domain, which can be transmitted from the antenna. Such signals has the bandwidth consumption exactly twice the bandwidth of information signal, while they consume exactly the bandwidth which was consumed by the double sideband amplitude modulated signals, which we discussed in the previous chapter. Similarly, a block diagram for the case of frequency modulated signals can also be generated. The only difference will be if we feed an integrated variant of the information signal as input to this system, then instead of this narrowband PM signal, we will obtain a narrowband frequency modulated signal here. While if the deviation of carrier signal is large enough, that is the constant scaling factors Kf and Kp are larger, then we do not have a limited bandwidth signal. Rather, we have an exponential modulated signal which occupies an infinitely large bandwidth, which has infinite number of sidebands being generated. If we conduct an analysis to define the approximate bandwidth of such wideband frequency and phase modulated signals, so by adopting the same route as of the pioneers, who by their intuitive simple reasoning came to an estimate of the frequency modulated signals where the precise bandwidth is infinitely large. However, defining the bandwidth as the band in which most of the energy is concentrated. If we start by taking an information signal in time domain as example, for example, we have an information signal m of t in time domain which is defined as, if we approximate this information signal m of t with a staircase approximate variant m hat of t as which is approximated by pulses of constant amplitudes. For our convenience, if we refer to each of these pulses as a block, it makes the analysis easier because for each of this block, the amplitude of this information signal can be assumed as a constant amplitude. So as for the case of angle modulated signals, the amplitude of information signal directly influence phase or frequency of the carrier signal. By assuming it constant for a small time duration helps in understanding the behavior of phase and frequency in the modulated signal. To ensure that m hat of t, the staircase variant of the information signal m of t, has all the information of m of t, the block width of each block in m hat of t can be considered as according to the Nyquist interval that was 1/2b, that is for sampling a certain signal by choosing discrete samples of a certain signal, the sampling frequency must be at least twice the bandwidth of the signal being sampled. So the separation span between two samples must be at maximum 1/2b apart. Among these blocks, if we consider a typical block, for example, a block starting from t1 time instant up to t2 time instant, and this block has a constant amplitude which can, for example, be referred as m1. Similarly, all the blocks has a constant amplitude for the time span within the span of a block. For example, the following block has an amplitude, a constant amplitude of m2 and so on. If we focus at a typical block, for example, for the time span between t1 and t2, we have a constant amplitude of m1. And if we plot the modulated signal, for example, frequency modulated signal here, as the frequencies are directly being influenced by the amplitude of information signal, and for the block between the time instances t1 and t2, we have a constant amplitude of the information signal. Therefore, the modulated signal generated for within this span will be a sinusoid of a fixed frequency. So for each of such blocks, the modulated signal will have different frequency. However, for the span within each block, its frequency will be a constant frequency, as the frequencies are being influenced, being modified according to the amplitude of information signal for the case of frequency modulated signals, where instantaneous frequency was generated as the central frequency omega c plus a scaled variant of information signal m of t. If we are limited within the span from t1 to t2, we have a constant amplitude of m of t, that is m1. After scaling m1 with kf and adding it with the frequency of carrier signal omega c, we have a constant frequency for the span within a certain block. Therefore, if we plot the modulated signal for another such block, for example, for this block here, the amplitude of this red block compared to the green block is lower, maybe some different amplitude, the frequency modulated signal will have a lower frequency in this block. So directly with respect to the amplitude of the information signal, the frequency of the modulated signal will be generated. In this block, the frequency being generated is fc, the central frequency, plus kf m1. And if we refer the amplitude of this block as m0, the frequency of modulated signal being generated for this block of the modulated signal will be equal to Fc plus Kf into m0. However, for within this block, the frequency being generated will be a constant frequency, and so on. For each of such block, we will generate a carrier signal, a pure sinusoid, which has a constant frequency for the span within the block, and for every different block it will have a different frequency that will be directly proportional to the amplitude of that block. The spectrum of this modulated signal consists of sum of the Fourier transform of these individual pulses or individual sinusoid waves for each block, where the Fourier transform of a certain sinusoid which has a limited time duration is a pure sinc function. For example, if we have a sinusoid signal in time domain of a certain frequency, the Fourier transform of this signal is an impulse positioned at the frequency of the sinusoid. For example, if its frequency is f1, we will have an impulse positioned at f1, and the mirrored image of the positive frequencies will be seen at the negative frequencies. This is true if the span of this sinusoid in time domain is infinitely large, that is, it is defined from minus infinity to plus infinity in time domain, then this definition of its Fourier transform being an ideal impulse signal holds. However, if we limit the sinusoid signal in time domain, that is by multiplying it with a filter in time domain, for example, which has a magnitude of plus 1 for a limited span, that is from the time instant t1 to time instant t2. For example, if it is separated by the span delta t, by multiplying these two signals in time domain, we get a sinusoid which has a limited duration, that is from time interval t1 up to time interval t2. So after multiplying the first two signals, we have obtained this third signal. As we know that the Fourier transform of this rectangular signal is a pure sinc function, while the equivalent representation of this multiplication operation in frequency domain is convolution of these two signals. When we convolve these two signals in frequency domain, we can obtain the Fourier transform of this sinusoid which is limited in time, that will be this sinc shifted across the frequency f1 and its mirrored image at the frequency minus f1. So from this analysis we can conclude that a sinusoid with infinitely large duration can be represented in frequency domain after performing its Fourier transform with pure impulses positioned at the frequency of the sinusoid. Whereas for the sinusoids of limited time span, their Fourier transform is not an impulse, rather it is a sinc function. The first zero crossing of this sinc will be observed at, and all the zero crossings will be observed at the integer multiple of 1 over t. For example, the second zero crossing will be observed at 4 pi divided by delta t, and the third zero crossing will be observed at 6 pi by delta t, where delta t was the span of this rectangle function. So if we expand the span of this rectangle function, we will observe this sinc as shrinking and approaching to an ideal impulse signal. By applying this conclusion on the time domain frequency modulated signals, we can obtain its Fourier transform as the sum of Fourier transforms of these sinusoid pulses corresponding to each block which has a limited amplitude for within the span of that block. So the Fourier transform of these signals can be seen as, for example, the information signal is a baseband signal, so it can be referred as limited in the bandwidth and composed of low frequencies, for example from the band 0 to bHz, while in terms of radians per second it can be referred as the band from 0 to 2 pi b radians per second. Similarly, by taking the Fourier transform of each of these sinusoids and adding them up, superimposed variant will represent the Fourier transform of the resultant signal. So for each of these limited time span sinusoids, for example for this first sinusoid representing a certain block of the approximated staircase variant of the information signal, we may experience a sinc function if we only plot the frequencies of the positive axis. So since the frequency being generated in this span is fc plus kf into m naught, where m naught refers to the amplitude of information signal for within this span. So as the span of these blocks is constant, that is 1 over 2b, where b was the bandwidth of information signal. Since the span of each block is constant, so we will have the same composition of sinc for all the spans, while being the amplitude of each span different from each other, we will have different position of the sinc functions. For the green block, for example, the block referring for the time instances between t1 and t2, we have a pure sinusoid of a limited duration with frequency as fc plus kf into m1, where m1 represents the amplitude of this block. Therefore, the sinc function being generated for this interval will be of the same composition in terms of the size of sinc function, while its position will be different from the sinc generated for the first block. So it may be positioned at fc plus kf into m1. For every different block, being the amplitude of each block different from each other, we will have a frequency, the central frequency of the sinc, as different from each other. For example, if we take the case of some other block, for example the block shaded in brown color, we have a different amplitude of this block. For example, if we refer the amplitude of this block as mx, then the frequency, the sinusoid generated for this block may have a different frequency that will be proportional to the amplitude of this block. The instantaneous frequency, or the frequency being generated for the carrier signal for this block, will be equal to fc plus kf, the scaling constant, multiplied by the amplitude of the information signal for this time span. Therefore, the Fourier transform of this sinusoid, which is of limited duration, will be a sinc function which may be centered at some other frequency, that is fc plus kf into mx. As we move along the time, we are experiencing a shift in amplitude. We have a different amplitude at different time instances, which defines the information signal. For each of the blocks representing the information signal, we have a different amplitude. So we will generate a carrier signal as a sinusoid of different frequencies for each block, and we will correspondingly experience sinc function moving at different frequencies in the frequency domain. At a certain time instant, or when referring to a certain block in the time domain, for example for this block, we will observe only one sinc which will be centered at a certain frequency that will correspond to the amplitude of this block. So when observing the frequency domain plot along the time, we will experience shift in the sincs in the frequency domain depending upon the variations in the amplitudes of information signal, as the frequency for each instant is being generated in the frequency modulated signals proportional to the amplitude of information signal. Any variations in the amplitude of information signal will cause a change in the instantaneous frequency of the modulated signal. Therefore, we will have shift in the concentration of energy in the frequency domain plot when observing it along the time. The highest frequency for this modulated signal will be generated when positive peak amplitudes of the information signal are observed. For example, if the positive peak of information signal is MP and negative peak amplitude of the information signal is also MP, that is minus MP. So for the time instances where the peak amplitude of information signal is observed, we will observe the maximum deviation in the frequency, and the highest and lowest frequencies will be generated in the modulated signal for the case of positive and negative peak amplitudes respectively. So if we plot the frequency domain of the modulated signal again and refer to some special cases, for example, when the amplitude of information signal is 0 for the point, for example over here, the instantaneous frequency that will be generated for this case can be obtained by substituting 0 in this equation, as the amplitude of information signal is influencing the frequency of the carrier signal. Therefore, for the time instances where the amplitude of information signal is 0, exactly the carrier frequency signal will be generated. Similarly, when the positive peak value of the information signal is observed, that is MP, for this case, a maximum deviation in the modulated signal's frequency will be observed, and the sink may be centered at some frequency which is delta f apart from the carrier frequency, where we defined delta f in the previous lecture as the peak frequency deviation, which was equal to kf into peak amplitude of information signal divided by 2 pi for the case of frequency modulated signals. And when a negative peak of the information signal is observed, that is minus MP, a negative shift in the frequency of modulated signal will be experienced, and the frequency of the sinusoid generated for the block will be Fc minus delta f, where delta f refers to the peak frequency deviation observed for this modulation. For the cases where the amplitude of information signal was equal to 0, a sink was generated in frequency domain representing the sinusoid in time domain of the frequency Fc as positioned on Fc. For the case when negative peak of the information signal is observed for such block, a sink positioned at maximum deviation away from the carrier frequency will be observed, that is at Fc minus delta f. And for the cases when positive peak of the information signal is observed, for such blocks the sink will be observed at positioned at maximum deviated along the positive frequency axis, that is centered at the frequency Fc plus delta f. From this frequency domain plot, we can conduct the bandwidth analysis of wideband frequency and phase modulated signals. That is, the lowest frequency for the negative peak amplitudes of the information signals is observed as Fc minus delta f, and the maximum frequency of the modulated signal is observed for the instances where the peak amplitude of information signal, positive peak amplitude of information signal is observed, while exactly the carrier frequency of the modulated signal is observed for the cases for the time instances where the amplitude of information signal is precisely equal to 0. The separation, the deviation, the peak frequency deviation from the frequency Fc, the carrier frequency, the central frequency to the positive side is delta f, and similarly considering the positive and negative peak amplitudes of the information signals as equal, the frequency deviation along the negative axis will also be equal to delta f. While for the time instances when this sink will be positioned at Fc minus delta f, the first zero occurrence of this sink will be inversely proportional to the span of a certain block, which was equal to 1 over 2b. Similarly, the band from Fc minus delta f to the first zero crossing of this sink positioned at Fc minus delta f will be equal to 2b. This is true if the span of a certain block is set as 1 over 2b. From the analysis conducted in the first part of this lecture, we reached to the conclusion that angle modulation schemes consume infinitely large bandwidth while most of the energy is concentrated in a certain band. So if we define bandwidth as limited in the band when the maximum deviation in the carrier frequency is observed, that is delta f plus fc frequency, and from the band starting at the first zero crossing of this sink up to the first zero crossing of the sink generated for the time instances when a negative peak of the information signal is observed and a negative peak frequency deviation is observed. The bandwidth of such angle modulation schemes can therefore be expressed as 2 times delta f plus 2 times b plus 2 times b. That is equal to 2 times delta f plus 4 times b. where delta f was defined as this obtained bandwidth estimate is slightly higher than the actual value than the actual bandwidth being consumed for this case, as we have not considered the actual information signal for this analysis while we have approximated the information signal with its equivalent staircase variant, the actual information signal being a considerably smoother variant of this considered staircase approximation. We may have slightly different actual bandwidth consumption from the formula which we have derived here. In order to apply any adjustments required in this derived formula for the bandwidth of wideband angle modulated signals, we can start it by testing over the narrowband frequency and phase modulated signals. For the case of narrowband frequency modulated signals, scaling factor kf was considered as a very small value that was less than 1, and the bandwidth consumption of the modulated signal, such narrowband frequency modulated signal, was observed as exactly twice the bandwidth of information signal. While here, if we consider kf being a very small value, in this expression of delta f, we can approximate delta f is equal to 0 for the case of narrowband frequency modulated signal. While if we substitute delta f being 0 in this expression derived for the bandwidth of frequency modulated signal, we end up by obtaining the expression for the bandwidth equal to 4b. While we have seen from the time domain analysis that bandwidth of such modulated signals, narrowband modulated signals, should be equal to 2b. So this straight away suggests the adjustment required in the formula of bandwidth which we have derived, which was incorrect, which was not precise because of the assumption of taking the information signal as a staircase variant instead of its original form. So by applying this minor adjustment, we can write the bandwidth formula for the case of phase and frequency modulated signals as equal to 2 times delta f plus 2 times the bandwidth of information signal. Now if we test it for the case of narrowband signals, when considering the case of narrowband signals, we are referring to the case where kf has a very small value. For such very small value of kf, the peak frequency deviation delta f can be considered 0. That is, substituting this kf value here in this equation, kf being small, we end up with the value delta f approximately equal to 0. So when delta f is substituted as 0 in this case, then the bandwidth of narrowband amplitude modulated signals is equal to 2b, which is true as observed in the first part of this lecture when we were conducting the analysis for narrowband frequency and phase modulated signals. Therefore, on the basis of this correction and this analysis, we reach to the conclusion that the bandwidth of angle modulated signals can be approximately expressed as 2 times the peak frequency deviation plus 2 times the bandwidth of information signal. This formula was obtained by Carson, who investigated this problem rigorously for tone modulation schemes. Therefore, this formula goes under the name Carson's rule in the literature. By further analyzing this formula, for example, for true wideband frequency and phase modulated signals, where peak frequency deviation is much larger than the bandwidth of information signal, this can be approximately expressed as equal to 2 times delta f, while compared to delta f, b being a small number can be ignored. Therefore, for such wideband frequency and phase modulated signals, the prime influencing factor on the bandwidth is the peak frequency deviation, where in the formulas of peak frequency deviation for the case of frequency and phase modulated signals, the influencing factors are scaling constants and the peak amplitude of information signal and the peak amplitude of derivative of information signal for the case of phase and frequency modulated signals. By manipulating these constant values, the bandwidth of modulated signals, the wideband frequency and phase modulated signals, can be controlled or can be manipulated. While this formula only holds for the case of wideband signals, in the case when delta f is less than b, it refers to the case of narrowband frequency and phase modulated signals or narrowband exponential modulated signals. From these two primary influencing factors of the bandwidth of wideband modulated signals, that is delta f, the peak frequency deviation, and the bandwidth of information signal, we can define a new parameter, that is deviation ratio. For example, it is referred by beta is equal to the ratio between peak frequency deviation and the bandwidth of information signal. We can rewrite the Carson's rule in terms of this newly defined deviation ratio parameter as 2 times the bandwidth of information signal multiplied by beta plus 1, where beta is the deviation ratio. As conclusion, we categorize the exponential modulated signals into narrowband and wideband schemes, where the time domain expression for wideband exponential modulated signals was derived as this, and the Carson's rule to estimate the bandwidth of these signals is 2 times the peak frequency deviation plus 2 times the bandwidth of information signal, which can also be written in terms of the deviation ratio as 2 times the bandwidth of information signal multiplied by the deviation ratio plus 1, where the time domain expression derived for narrowband exponential modulated signals can be expressed as, and the bandwidth consumed by such narrowband exponential modulated signals is exactly twice the bandwidth of information signal. The wideband exponential modulated signals converge to the case of narrowband exponential modulated signals when the scaling constant for scaling the bandwidth of such modulated signals is substituted as a very small value, that is ke equal to less than 1. This expression for narrowband angle modulated signals may appear similar to the equation which we derived for the amplitude modulated signals. While if we plot the waveform from this equation and compare it with the waveform derived from the similar equation which we derived for the case of amplitude modulation, they will look completely different. For this narrowband frequency or phase modulated signal, the frequencies of the carrier signal will be varying or fluctuating along the changes in the amplitude of information signal, while for the case of amplitude modulated signals, the peak amplitudes of the carrier signal are modified along the time with respect to the amplitude of information signal.
Thank you for attending this lecture. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any question or any comment, you can write me through email or you can ask during our upcoming online session. Thank you.